This is Mehul Mankad, and we're going to be talking about de-escalation. This is one of my favorite topics. Have you ever been in your office and you're seeing a client and you get that weird feeling that the encounter is going very badly? You ever wondered in that circumstance, how am I going to get through this meeting without somebody crossing the line, either the client or maybe me? So after those sorts of encounters, you ever go to a colleague's office to vent, and when you go to that colleague, you ever blame the client? Or do you wonder, what did I do that didn't help matters? You ever been embarrassed about what you've said or done that was happening during a tense situation that was already headed in the wrong direction? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then stay tuned. We're going to be talking about management of anger in the workplace in this video. But first, let's back up a bit and let me share with you what we're not going to talk about. There are some tools and techniques to help stressed or angry individuals learn to control their emotions in difficult situations. There are other tools and techniques to help stressed or angry individuals identify triggers so they don't become angry or stressed in the first place. In fact, we're going to go over some of those approaches in the mindfulness videos, but today we're going to talk about something a little different. Today, we're going to talk about what to do in the real world when someone comes into your office and is already angry. So let's take Bob. Bob is a 64-year-old male veteran who served as a Marine in Vietnam. His MOS was maintenance, and he does not have a combat action ribbon. He comes into your office without an appointment. The front desk tells you that he's loud and demanding to see you. You've met him before and you think you know him pretty well. And you think, you know what, it's better for everyone if I take him back to my office than to let him continue to be disruptive in the waiting room. So you bring him back, and your office happens to be the last one down the end of a long hallway, about as far from the fire exit as you can get. Now you're behind on your paperwork, so you have stacks of folders in crates on the ground. And Bob comes in and he's angry. His service connection claim was rejected for the third time. And the only person he remembers through this process is you. He starts yelling threats in your direction, and you can smell alcohol on his breath. At this point, you're wondering, is Bob armed? And what exactly is going to happen next? Now, you have exactly 3 ways to handle this situation. Number 1, you can rely on your experience from similar circumstances that you've been in before. Now, of course, every one of these is different, and so what worked once may not work again. And luckily, situations like this don't happen every day, so your total experience with this stuff is fairly limited. Number 2, you can adopt a zero-tolerance policy and drop the hammer every time. You could instruct the front desk to call the police as soon as anyone starts raising their voice. Now, I'm not sure how veteran-centered that approach is. Number 3, you could use a structured approach. You can use a system to handle potential workplace violence so that you have similar outcomes to other people who go through something like this. Now, a structured approach still might not work, but at least it's something you can rely on when you're not sure what to do next. This structured approach that we're going to talk about is borrowed from one of the most violent civilian environments out there, the emergency room. Emergency room personnel such as nurses, doctors, hospital security, technicians, they get training on these sorts of situations because they're commonplace in their work environment. Dr. Avram Fishkin took many of the elements of de-escalation of violence and put them together into 10 commandments. Now, I've taken those 10 commandments and heavily modified them to fit the VSO workplace a bit better. Now, while we're talking about this stuff, I want to switch to using the term client, and you've heard me say that a bit in this video, instead of saying veteran. Why? Because sometimes you're meeting with family members who are not veterans, even when the veteran themselves is not present. So don't just think that it's veterans who can get angry. We need to be on our toes even with spouses or with other family members. Now let's get started. We have 3 main objectives for our de-escalation task. We want to, number 1, ensure the safety of our client, ourselves, and our staff. Number 2, help the client manage his or her emotions and regain control. And number 3, know when and how to engage law enforcement as needed. Now, going through all of this, we have to accept 4 realities. Reality number 1, every VSO is different. All of you bring something unique to the table. What works for one of you will not work for another one of you. Reality number 2, every work environment is different. Every office and every set of staff, they're all set up differently, even if you work for the same organization. Reality number 3, every client is different. One technique for one client may not work for another. And reality number 4, every encounter is different. Even with the same VSO and the same work environment and the same client, don't expect that the thing you did the first time will work every time. So stay on your toes. So here are those 10 commandments. Commandment number 1, be prepared. A safe office is set up to decrease bad outcomes. How far is your office from the exit? Can you swap with someone who doesn't see clients so that you're closer to the exit? Do you have more than one entry or exit into your specific office? This is something like an escape route. Is your other door, if you have one, blocked by something like a file cabinet? Is your desk set up so that your back is to the client for long periods of time? What items in your office could end up as weapons in the hands of a potential threat? You know that ceremonial dagger you brought back from your own deployment? Should that really be decorating your office within arm's reach of a client? Next, now think about who works in your office during what times of the day. Are there ever times when you're meeting with clients without anyone else in the building? Have your hallmates ever had a drill about workplace violence? Now, the hospital has lots of words that they throw around and a lot of language that's specific, but in this case, there's a popular code word for potential workplace violence in the hospital, and it's Mr. Armstrong. And the idea is that if somebody's working in the hospital and there's a patient of theirs that's getting loud and upset, if other staff are walking by, they can knock on the door and ask that healthcare provider, hey, did you need Mr. Armstrong? And that's a code word to get the healthcare provider to indicate whether they need help or some sort of reinforcements. So that code word essentially means to the healthcare provider or the hospital staff, do you need help or do you need reinforcements? Your office needs a code word, something like that, and you can use Mr. Armstrong or use your own code word. Finally, what about meeting with local law enforcement? Have you met with your community police officer? Have you had them come by and check out your workplace? They're happy to do that, and it actually doesn't take very long. You can bet that they will have some ideas for improving your safety profile. You may need to remind them that every veteran that you see is trained in the use of a variety of firearms. Commandment number 2, warning signs. Don't just tell yourself that the client is going to calm down on his or her own. Look for signs of escalation. Foot tapping, hand wringing, hair pulling, fist clenching or unclenching, fiddling with objects, doing things like that. All of those behaviors are things for you to keep an eye on. Repetitive thoughts that the client shares or that you have about the situation, your gut instinct, these are things worth paying attention to. If either you or the client are thinking or saying, I've got to get out of here, don't ignore it. The 2 signs that should trip a flag in your mind are if the client starts shouting or they can't sit down, they cannot sit down. When those 2 things happen, you're going to shift into de-escalation mode. At this point, the reason that they have escalated is no longer important. What's important is that you honor the 3 objectives. Safe client, safe office. Client needs to regain control. Call law enforcement as necessary. Commandment number 3, respect personal space. Keep at least 2 arms length distance between you and the client. If you lean forward to pat them on the shoulder, they may mistake your action as a threatening move. Don't move your body to block the exit. You don't want to put yourself between the client and the exit, so they have to go through you to get outside. Commandment number 4, pay attention to yourself. Check in with yourself regarding your tone and body language. 50% of your communication comes from your actions, your body language, and your tone of voice, not from what you're saying. Let me say that again in different words. If you're telling them to calm down, but you're shouting it, then you're sending them a very mixed message. It's hard if they're shouting for you to not shout back. I get it, but you have to try. Be mindful of your hands. If your fists are clenched, relax them. If your arms are folded, put them to your sides. Don't point. Sometimes I'll actually put up my hands like this so the client understands that I have nothing to hide. I try to take my hands out of my pockets. Be mindful of your eyes. Keep them trained on the client. Don't make glaring eye contact. It's not going to help. Staring at a person when they're enraged may be perceived as a threat. Commandment number 5, one person should be in charge. If your office has more than one person and if you are not the supervisor, then you need to decide, your staff needs to decide in advance how to handle this. If you are the supervisor, you still need to decide what to do when your subordinate gets into one of these situations. Multiple people shouting can make a bad situation worse. If your office has decided that you will take over as the de-escalation manager, then you need to introduce yourself to the client as soon as you take over. Stay polite, get the client's first name, tell them your name, and then tell them what's going to happen next. Commandment number 6, keep it simple. Use short sentences. Use small words. Repeat yourself. Repeat yourself. Angry people are not the best listeners. Give one instruction at a time. Commandment 7, acknowledge what they want. Find out what they want and repeat it back to them in simple language. Resist the urge to promise anything that you can't deliver on 100%. Really, all you can promise is that you're going to listen to their concern if they stop shouting or threatening. You may or may not be able to solve their problem that day. Finally, if all else fails, you may have to agree to disagree. If they're trying to paint you into a corner with their argument, you may have to tell them that you hear their perspective, but that yours is a little bit different. Commandment number 8, set clear limits. There are certain behaviors that are okay. In a calm tone, it's fine to say, I will hear you out, but you need to talk to me without shouting. You need to stop threatening me, and we both need to sit down. Is that a deal? Commandment number 9, offer choices. This one's my favorite. Tell them to take 5 minutes, and everyone will re-engage after a break. If they smoke, let them go out to smoke. If they're hungry, give them a snack. If they're not hungry, still give them a snack. It's hard to be mad with a cookie in your mouth. Now that reminds me, buy some nice snacks for just this sort of thing. It also reminds me, don't eat all the snacks before you need them for your clients. Now this may be the hardest lesson for all of us. That would be the hardest lesson for me. The other part of offering choices involves focusing on other issues that the client values and that you may have solutions to. If there's a problem that you can solve, then work on that with the client's mutual agreement. Commandment number 10, debrief the client and the staff. Debrief these two groups separately. Now, I can't stress this one enough, probably because it's often ignored. With the client, try to go through the events without blaming them or criticizing them. Just state the facts as you saw them. Maybe you want to state your emotional response to the events, and then give them an opportunity to talk about how things went. Now, it's nice at this point if they offer an apology, or at least they admit that they could have handled things differently, but don't necessarily push for one. In the staff debriefing, focus on how this specific scenario was handled and how it could be handled better in the future. Did everybody play their roles correctly? What went well? What could have gone better? Now, do you notice anything missing from these 10 commandments? Now, it's the police. That's one of our objectives, is calling law enforcement as necessary. The reason that the call to law enforcement is missing is that you can pull that alarm at any time. It's not a step, but it's a pressure relief valve that's available to you at any point in the encounter. If these 10 steps don't work, or if you're concerned about immediate harm to yourself, your staff, or the client, then do not hesitate to call law enforcement. Don't think that you have to attempt all 10 steps before you consider calling. Don't assume that you've got things covered because you can always talk somebody down. Don't be a hero. Don't compare yourself to a coworker who's handled situations like this that did turn out okay. Don't worry about being judged afterwards by your coworkers. They're not there in the heat of the moment, okay? You take care of business and keep those 3 objectives in mind: safety, control, and calling for help. When these sorts of episodes are over, it's easy to blame someone. The client is the one who's easiest to blame. Maybe the staff member is the target of blame because others think that they would have handled the situation differently. Or maybe someone who wasn't there gets the blame. A better way to cope with these sorts of circumstances is to acknowledge that they will happen and that your team will do the best they can to diffuse tense situations. No one can really ask for more than that. Thank you.